With the release of the Dragonflight pre-patch comes the release of brand new talent trees and so many things looking to change for Havoc with Dragonflight. In my opinion, it's the best iteration of the class yet, the most fun. However, before we can get there, we do have to go through a weird period of time with both the new talent trees, but also Shadowlands borrowed power. So in today's video, we'll be going over the talent builds, stats, legendaries, and covenants for this weird period of time that will be Dragonflight pre-patch. Before we get into that, lots of my viewers aren't subscribed, so if you enjoy Havoc Demon Hunter content, or just WoW content in general, drop me a sub. It would really help me out, and I'll have tons of content throughout Dragonflight and beyond. Now enjoy the video. So quick note before we get too deep into this, there are a few things to note. A lot of things in this video are hinging on the fact of what's been communicated by the devs. However, at this point in time, some of those things don't work as intended on PTR. It's unsure what the result will be once Tuesday rolls around, but since it's been communicated like that, then I'm going to assume it'll work as outlined in this video. Some of those things are Sinful Brand not being affected by any means necessary, talents and legendaries maybe double dipping on trees, and also being able to have 2 copies of the hunt from Nightfay. We also don't have sims, so a lot of these things are theorycraft. While some things along the edges might change, the core information presented here will most likely be correct. Also, it's pre-patch. You really can just do whatever you want, have fun, and just ball out. That said, let's get into it. So here we are on pre-patch. I'll show you guys a build for single target and then a build for M+. We'll talk about the talent choices a little bit, then we'll get into some of the stats, legendaries, covenants, rotation, and all that jazz. So this first build I've thrown up on the screen here is going to be more of your raid single target build. And those encounters with lots of single target. Clash tree is going to stay relatively the same for every single thing. There'll be 1 point that jumps around, I believe. But realistically, you're just grabbing the best things here. You're grabbing Sigil Flame for some more fury. You're grabbing Charred Warblades for kind of leech healing. You're grabbing Demonic, which is very powerful. You're grabbing the Hunt, a very powerful ability that we just get now. Collective Anguish is super strong, especially on the class tree. Allows us to also get a second legendary that wasn't this. You get stuff like Legendary Knowledge. You get stuff like Eternal Struggle, which is Mastery, which has gained a lot of value. Realistically, this is just kind of your best of talents from over here. Before we get to level 70, there's not a lot of options over on the left side, so this is kind of what it's going to be for the whole thing. On the right side, however, we have a lot of more options. So this is single target. Single target synergizes really heavily with Venthyr. Going to bury the lead a little bit. You're still going to be playing Venthyr. In single target, running it down to Shattered Destiny is going to be very powerful. We're going to be generating and spending a lot of Fury. And this synergizes very well with Venthyr, getting all that uptime on Sinful Brand, getting more haste, as well as allowing you to be in Demonic more, getting stronger First Bloods from Chaos Strike, from Death Sweep, as well as Annihilations. So this build itself, lots of I-Beam damage through Looks Can Kill, Chaos Transformation, and I-Beam itself. You get your Fury Generation from Demonic Appetite and Tactical Retreat. And you get some extra damage bonus from Fall to the Flame, which is very strong in single target. You also have stuff like Dancing with Fate, Trail of Ruin, which allow for a little bit extra damage. Initiative is quite strong, especially when you trigger it with Tactical Retreat. So this is kind of a precursor to Momentum. You don't really have the talent points to grab Momentum yet on pre-patch, but it will be very strong with these talents already. And then this, Isolated Prey, is just grabbed to deal damage to a single target. You could always drop this for something like Fellfire Heart if there's more targets you want to hit, as this has really good synergy with Growing Inferno. You don't take it here, but you will be taking the Conduit probably. But this is overall a very solid, very strong raid build. Lots of focused single target damage. Lots of cooldown reduction with Cycle of Hatred, getting you more I-Beams, getting you longer Sinful Brands, getting you more Shattered Destiny uptime. You get good damage with First Blood now, Dancing with Fate being baseline. Overall, this build's pretty fun. It's like current Demon Hunter, but a little bit on steroids. You do more damage, your rotation's a little bit more interesting, and you're keeping things up longer. That's the single target build, and now we'll go over the M+ build. So this is more of an M+ build, and you can see we've kind of switched over to the right side of the tree. In kind of the talent tree for Havoc Demon Hunter, the middle is more of a single target Demonic build, the right is kind of your AoE, and the left is kind of your Momentum talents that kind of synergize with that. So if we go over to the class tree, we notice 2 things have changed. One, we've taken a point out of Fellfire Haste and put it into Unleash Power, giving you cheaper Chaos Novas more often is great, especially since we're losing access to Fell Eruption because it's very hard to get, and you don't really have the points to get Sigil of Misery yet. There's also one other change in the class tree, and that is First of the Illidari. Essentially what this does, it makes meta a 2-minute cooldown that also gives you 10% verse while you're inside of it. This is great because of Venthyr. Essentially what this allows you to do is meta onto targets, put your brands on everything, and deal crazy damage with that, buffed by the versatility, buffed by any means necessary, and do really high bursts every 2 minutes, which is a great thing that we've never been able to do before. So first the Illidari, while a talent itself in Dragonflight, once we get to the actual patch, not going to be that good. Realistically, it doesn't do much versus Demonic. In this specific scenario, because of Venthyr, it gains so much benefit that it's really good in M+. That's one big change to the class tree. Over in the spec tree, you see we've kind of shifted sides a little bit. We've gone down more towards the Immolation Aura sides of the tree, down towards Ragefire, down towards Any Means Necessary as our capstone instead of Shattered Destiny. Any Means Necessary makes all of your Arcane, Fire, Frost, Nature, and Shadow damage be dealt as Chaos, and makes them affected by your Mastery. This affects Sinful Brand, or at least it should be. It doesn't on PTR right now, but it's communicated that it should, so we're assuming it will be. It makes your Hunt deal more damage. It makes stuff like Immolation Aura deal more damage. It makes stuff like Collective Anguish, stuff like Demon's Blades, all those things deal more damage as Chaos, which is very, very powerful. Other part of this build is the Growing Inferno Immolation Aura build, or not build, but portion. This allows you to have really big uncapped AoE, especially when your Immolation Aura is critting. It's doing more damage from Any Means Necessary. It's hitting big, big hits, really feeding into that Ragefire. The more targets you have, the more damage this will deal. It's felt very, very good on the PTR, not PTR, on the beta, and I love this talent. The final of the two little builds we have is kind of a Throw Glaive build. Furious Throws, Accelerating Blade, and Soul Rend. This allows for some really, really good damage. It versus the Fury cost it has deals really good damage. It goes a lot of Glaives out, deals that Soul Rend dot to them, and really fun. It allows you to use your Glaive as well, fill in with stuff that isn't just Annihilation, and I really like this. Lastly, we have Initiative, very, very powerful. Unbound Chaos, again, really, really powerful, hitting those Fel Rushers through people. And then Tactical Retreat, it's here for more Fury generation. As well, you want to be pushing out cooldown anyways to trigger Initiative. So this is kind of the AoE build. I think this will be very, very, very powerful. You're going to want to stick with this build, especially if you're using Venthyr, which you should be, because if it works, Any Means Necessary, as well as Illidari, will have Giga Burst every 2 minutes, and it'll be great. So in terms of legendaries, because Collective Anguish was added to our talent tree, and this was kind of a legendary for a long time, it's pushed us away from that and giving us more options for a legendary to pick. In a lot of scenarios, what you're going to want to do is just grab Darkglare Boon on your neck. Don't look at the stats right now, this is my old one. Realistically, Darkglare Boon synergizes very well with both Venthyr and with Collective Anguish, giving you that chance to reset, allowing you to hit more Collective Anguishes, more Fel Devastations, extend your brand longer, and just do a lot of damage, especially with the buff to I-Beam, where I-Beam does a lot more damage now than it did before. There's also benefits quite well with Shattered Destiny, just giving you more demonic uptime. So it'll be really good in single target, and it does have application in AoE now because of the I-Beam changes, because of the stuff with Collective Anguish dealing that AoE damage. So this talent combination, talent choice is going to be solid in most scenarios. In this AoE build, though, there is another talent, or not talent, legendary that you can pick that is very interesting. It also can be used for funnel. And what I'm talking about is the legendary we've never used before, Fel Bombardment. Fel Bombardment used to be a talent on the talent tree. It was taken away because it was kind of weird. Basically what it does is Immolation Aura damage has a chance to grant you a stack of Fel Bomb, Fel Bombardment, which increases the damage that your next Throw Glaive deals to your primary target by 50% and launching an additional glaive at a nearby target. This effect stacks up to 5 times. What this can do, especially in a large pack, is allow you to push your Immolation Aura, kind of build up these packs, hit Throw Glaive, and throw a bunch of glaives to a bunch of targets around you, as well as dealing more damage to your primary target. Now, the glaives interact with Soulbind quite well, because when it goes and overlaps, it will add the damage of each buff together and give you a longer dot. Kind of like how Ignite works on Fire Mages. So by throwing out all of these glaives, you're doing a lot of damage with Soul Rend, applying your dots to everything, applying Burning Wound to 3 targets, and overall, it's really, really good. The funnel part of this comes with the primary target by 50%. Effectively, with 5 stacks, this deals 250 extra % to your primary target, allowing you to kind of turn adds that are spawning or different mobs into focused priority damage, dealing that big hit of damage to your one target with the glaive. I think this will be very interesting. You should craft it on your neck. That way you can swap pretty easily with Darkglare Medallion and Fel Bombardment. If you don't want to craft another legendary for pre-patch, which I don't blame you, then realistically you can just play Darkglare Medallion in all scenarios and it'll do fine. Especially because of the fire I-Beam damage, the Fel Dev damage, and the damage from Agony Gaze and Sinful Brand. But Fel Bomb is a very unique tool that we've never really had a chance to play with because it's been so weird, that is posed to do really well in this very specific format, or not format, but environment of the Dragonflight pre-patch. In terms of stats, your stat priority will change coming into Dragonflight. It'll be a little bit different than the pre-patch, but right now, the big important thing is to drop versatility. So we don't really know how our stats are going to end up because as of the time of me recording this, sims aren't actually fully done. So we don't know like certain stat ratios or what's going to be good versus what. But as of right now, we know that Mastery is going to be very good, in part due to its increased scaling factor. Also in part to the fact that we get a bunch of Chaos abilities, we get First Blood, we get I-Beam doing real damage, we get stuff like Any Means Necessary, Soul Rend, any necessary affecting this. So we get a lot more chaos damage now than we've had before, which makes Mastery very good. Also, it scales much higher than it did before, making it doubly good. Crit gains value as well, due to Know Your Enemy, which we won't be taking in pre-patch, but come Dragonflight will be very good, but especially because of Rage Fire. Crit itself is also just good on all the abilities we're going to end up doing, so crit is a great stat for us. Finally, Haste is going to be good. It allows your stuff to tick longer, Sinful Brand tick harder, and also give you a shorter rotation and longer demonic windows through Shattered Destiny and Cycle of Hatred. So realistically, you can't go wrong with any of your 3 stats, crit, haste, or mastery in pre-patch. Without saying that it's hard to say certain ratios of each. Once those are out, I'll probably post a little community post about them. You know, always be simming yourself when you can. Realistically, you just want to drop as much verse as you can and put it into your other 3 stats. Now, conduits are going to be a weird one compared to now. It's been said that conduits won't be stacking with those effects that are on the talent tree, and Havoc Demon Hunter actually has all 4 of our potency conduits in our talent tree, so Growing Inferno, Dancing with Fate, Relentless Onslaught, Serrated Glaive, Dancing with Fate, Growing Inferno, Serrated Glaive, Relentless Onslaught. So basically, what's going to happen, your best conduits are still going to be Growing Inferno and Relentless Onslaught. Dancing with Fate you won't ever take because every single build is going to end up taking this. Also, it's very, very nerfed compared to the one on here. But you're going to take these conduits and you're going to try and use them if you're not using these other talent tree points. It's nice to see that these have actually been nerfed. I didn't even notice this until recording this. All these conduits have been nerfed to make them a little less impactful. In the single target build over here, because you're not taking Growing Inferno or Relentless Onslaught, you can end up taking both of those in the conduits, effectively giving you more talent points. If it's pure single target, you can take Dauntless Duelist with Nagia. If there's Cleave, you can take Increased Scrutiny. Realistically, I think Nagia is going to be your best bet for Venthyr. Venthyr is just going to be the play. Necrolord can be played a little bit if you want, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as good as Venthyr. Venthyr also has the ability, you know, of just so much interaction with Sinful Brand, and then Night Fae loses a lot because you can't take both iterations of the hunt. Anyways, back to conduits. These are going to be really good ones for Cleave. For single target, probably Dauntless Duelist. Nagia's going to be good. Its haste is still going to be good for us, as well as the crit, which you're going to want to have more than verse, but gaining both crit and haste is going to be great because we like crit, haste, and mastery. For the other build, for the M+ build, there's a little bit weird things because you take both Growing Inferno and Dancing with Fate, which really leaves our only 3 conduits as Serrated Glaive, Growing Inferno, and Relentless Onslaught, which is a little weird. Now, it may end up being that you don't actually want to take Serrated Glaive, you can just take a defensive thing. Also may end up being that these talents do overlap. In that case, you just want to take Dancing with Fate, Growing Inferno, and probably Relentless Onslaught. If you're not running Cycle of Hatred, you could take Increased Scrutiny, but because of just how Sinful Brand and I-Beam line up much more naturally now, you don't need to take it. So in that case where those conduits do not, or do end up stacking, then you just want to run these. If they don't end up stacking, then you want to just run whatever combination of Increased Scrutiny plus the other 2 that you're not currently chosen in the tree. It's a little weird. That one will depend on how things work, but those are basically the conduits you're going to want. So in terms of rotation, especially when running the single target build, it's very, very similar to how we've been playing in Shadowlands. You want to apply your brand, 2 targets, throw your brand on, I-Beam, use your Death Sweep now, I-Beam again if you got a proc, keep I-Beam if you get the procs, use your meta, Death Sweep again, I-Beam. And at this point, you probably want to Vengeful Retreat and then use the Hunt. The reason you want to get that Vengeful Retreat is because using Vengeful Retreat gives you the initiative buff. Basically from there, you're just spending all your stuff, using Blade Dance on cooldown, Annihilation as much as you can, using Immolation Aura, Fell Blade, and Vengeful Retreat on cooldown to generate more Fury, and just spending all that Fury into your big damage dealing buttons that we all know and love and Havoc has had for a while. Really the goal here is just keep up Sinful Brand as much as possible. It's the same as it's been in the past, nothing too complex as well. The big new complexity is just using Death Sweep on cooldown or Blade Dance on cooldown, which again, not that hard. Aside from that, you just want to make sure that you are keeping Vengeful Retreat on cooldown, and whenever you use it to just either VR into a wall, another object, or through the boss so that you keep up your uptime from that. If you get a Demon proc, just throw Glaive it down. You don't need to cleave it. So just do like that, do your rotation. It's pretty simple. It's classic core Demon Hunter that a lot of people know and love. and it hasn't really changed too much with this build. The rotation for the M plus build is where things get a little bit more interesting. So realistically here, one of the major things you want to make doing is making sure that you don't ever actually cap on throw glaives. Aside from that, you also want to make sure that you're using your eventual retreat roughly on cooldown so they can line up with I-beam. Because getting that initiative buff into your death sweep or into your blade dance, into your strong abilities is very strong. You want to couple it with stuff like the hunt when you can, getting your initiative buff like that. Likewise, you want to use Immolation Aura on cooldown, trying to hit as many targets as possible, and stay in range when Rage Fire explodes. So realistically, the opener is pretty similar. Throw your brand on the target, I-beam, got a proc, use it, go like this, onto the group, I-beam death sweep, go back, use the hunt back in, throw your glaives out, and you're off to the races. There's a few things on pack opener. Realistically, you won't have all of them for every single pack. But, again, it's important to just be using your death sweeps, making sure you don't cap on glaives, keeping your brand up when you can. It's not as important anymore. Using your eventual retreat on cooldown so that you have the fury, so that you have the initiative bonus, and trying to fit a death sweep or the hunt or blade dance or one of your strong hitting abilities into that initiative window. Otherwise, it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Demon Hunter's complexity isn't really changing too much going into pre-patch. I still think it's going to be pretty easy. But basically, that's it. Keep your uptime when you eventual retreat. Use your abilities to deal damage, you know, like Blade Dance, Glaive Tempest, not Glaive Tempest, Throw Glaive, I-beam, Brand, all that stuff. It's not too difficult, not too different. There's just a little extra layer of eventual retreating in combat and also using your Throw Glaive. That's it for my Dragonflight pre-patch Havoc guide. If you have any questions resolving the rotation, talent options, legendary choices, covenants, all that stuff, hit it down below. I'm super excited for Demon Hunter in the upcoming patch and in the upcoming expansion. I think it's looking really fun. It's going to be weird to try out some of the stuff like Fellbomb or First the Eldari with Venthyr. While we have the chance, I think it's going to be pretty fun. I'll probably have a lot of content coming over the next few weeks, like dungeons and stuff like that, just having some fun with different builds. Realistically though, just have fun in pre-patch, get used to the new UI, get used to your new rotation. It hasn't changed too much. It'll change a little bit more once we get Essence Break come 70, and I'll have a guide for that. But realistically, that's it for this video. If you have any questions, again, comment them down below. If you liked it, please consider subscribing, leave a little like. It really helps me out. And thank you guys for watching. See you guys next time.